It's a crisp November evening in 1995 at the BET Big Southern Classic in Atlanta, and the Georgia Dome is electric with anticipation. Over 70,000 fans pack the stands, their cheers echoing as the drumlines of Atlanta A&T University and Morris Brown College prepare to face off in one of the fiercest HBCU band battles of the year. The air smells of popcorn and sweat, the stadium lights casting a golden glow on the field as the snares snap and bass drums thunder, a rhythm so fierce it shakes the very ground. Atlanta A&T, decked out in gold and green, is led by Marcus M.J. Jackson, a 19-year-old snare drummer with a grin that could light up the night. Marcus, a freshman from Harlem, is the heart of the team. A kid who grew up banging on pots and pans, dreaming of making it big through music. Tonight, he's in the zone, his sticks a blur as he leads a cadence that has the crowd on their feet, screaming for more. His best friend, Andre Carter, a 20-year-old bass drummer, watches with pride, knowing Marcus's talent is the key to their victory. But after a tied performance and a tense exchange with Morris Brown's drummers, Marcus heads out to celebrate, with his bandmates promising to meet them at Dino's Diner. He never shows up. His drumsticks are found in a parking lot, his jacket tossed in a dumpster, and Marcus vanishes without a trace. For 20 years, Andre and the A&T drumline carry the weight of his absence, a wound that never heals. Then on October 12, 2015, Andre is driving home, listening to a true crime podcast called Cold Beats, when he hears a voice that stops him cold. A former Morris Brown drummer, Terrence T-Bone Wright, confesses that he knows what happened to Marcus that night, a revelation that turns everything Andre thought he knew upside down. What really happened to Marcus Jackson, and why did it take 20 years for the truth to surface? What's up, story lovers? Welcome to Story Room by Rico, where we bring you gripping tales that'll keep you hooked. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a story. Also, let us know in the comments section where you are watching from. Buckle up. Let's dive into a mystery that will leave you stunned. Let's go back to 1995, when Marcus Jackson was the rising star of Atlanta A&T's Drumline, a group legendary for its rhythm and soul in the HBCU circuit. Marcus was a 19-year-old freshman, a skinny kid with a quick laugh and a talent for drumming that turned heads from the moment he arrived on campus. He'd grown up in Harlem, raised by his single mother Denise, a schoolteacher who worked double shifts to afford his drum lessons. Marcus learned to play on the streets, taught by his uncle, a jazz drummer who'd once toured with legends like Miles Davis. A viral street performance at 16, Marcus drumming on buckets in Times Square, caught the eye of A&T's band director, Dr. James Lee, who offered him a full scholarship on the spot. At A&T, Marcus joined the drumline, a tight-knit crew under Dr. Lee's strict but passionate direction. Lee, a 50-year-old with a booming voice and a love for his students, demanded precision but treated the band like family. Marcus bonded fast with Andre Carter, a 20-year-old bass drummer with dreams of becoming a band director. The two were inseparable. Andre called Marcus MJ the Maestro, and Marcus teased Andre for his obsession with perfect timing. Marcus also started dating LaToya Evans, an 18-year-old freshman clarinet player with a shy smile and a fierce loyalty to him. They'd spend hours practicing together, Marcus teaching her drum cadences while she laughed at his goofy impressions of Dr. Lee. On November 17, 1995, the night before the BET Big Southern Classic, A&T hosted a pre-classic party at a campus rec hall where tensions with Morris Brown flared. Morris Brown's drumline, led by Terrence T-Bone Wright, crashed the party, banging on their drums in a taunting display. Marcus brushed it off, but LaToya noticed T-Bone staring at Marcus with a cold intensity, his jaw tight with resentment. The next day, November 18th, The Classic was the biggest stage of the year. A&T's Drumline in gold and green faced off against Morris Brown, known for their flashy moves and ruthless tactics. Marcus led a cadence that had the crowd on their feet, his snare cutting through the air like a lightning bolt, a rhythm so tight it felt alive. A&T tied with Morris Brown, but the rivalry turned ugly when Morris Brown's drummers taunted A&T, banging on their drums in a disrespectful stunt. Marcus laughed it off, telling Andre, "They're just mad because they can't keep up." After the event, the A&T Drumline planned to celebrate at Dino's Diner, a local spot near campus. Marcus said he'd meet them there after grabbing his jacket from the team bus. LaToya hugged him goodbye, promising to save him a seat. But he never arrived. Andre waited until 2 a.m., calling Marcus's pager with no response, while LaToya paced the diner, her heart sinking. The next morning, a janitor found Marcus's drumsticks in the parking lot and his jacket in a dumpster nearby. The police were called, but the trail went cold fast. No witnesses, no clear footage, just a missing drummer and a team left reeling. What happened to Marcus after he left that bus, and why couldn't anyone find him? Marcus's disappearance sent shockwaves through Atlanta A&T, turning a vibrant campus into a place of fear and grief. The drumline, once a symbol of unity, felt broken without Marcus's snare leading the way. Andre Carter, Marcus's best friend, was hit hardest. He blamed himself for not walking Marcus to the bus, replaying their last conversation where Marcus joked about getting a burger with extra fries. Andre organized searches with the band, combing the streets around the Georgia Dome, their gold uniforms a stark contrast to the gray Atlanta winter. LaToya Evans, Marcus's girlfriend, joined every search, her eyes red from crying as she handed out flyers with Marcus's photo, her clarinet untouched since he vanished. Marcus's mother, Denise Jackson, a 42-year-old teacher with a gentle smile, flew down from Harlem, her hands trembling as she clutched a photo of Marcus at his first drum recital. She stayed in Atlanta for weeks, knocking on doors and pleading for answers. The police, led by Detective Harold Brooks, a gruff 45-year-old with a reputation for closing cases, interviewed everyone at the event. They questioned Terrence T-Bone Wright, the Morris Brown drummer who'd glared at Marcus, but T-Bone had an alibi. His teammates swore he was with them at a hotel party. A grainy security tape from a nearby gas station showed a figure in a hoodie near the parking lot at 11:45 p.m., but the footage was too blurry to identify anyone. Marcus's sister, Tanya Jackson, a 22-year-old nursing student, arrived from New York to help. She went on local news with Denise, her voice breaking as she held up Marcus's photo, begging for tips. A local journalist, Darius Moore, a 30-year-old reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, covered the story, writing articles that kept Marcus's name in the headlines. Tips poured in. A truck driver claimed he saw a young man matching Marcus's description hitchhiking on I-20, but it led nowhere. Another caller reported a scream near the dome, but no evidence was found. A false lead emerged when police raided a local gang, the West Side Crew, after a tip about a kidnapping ring. But it turned out to be unrelated, just a drug bust with no connection to Marcus. Andre started a campus group, Rhythm for Justice, to raise awareness about missing persons, holding vigils where the drumline played Marcus's favorite cadences. Dr. Lee, the band director, cancelled performances for the rest of the season, saying it wouldn't feel right without Marcus. The investigation stalled after a month, with Detective Brooks admitting they had no leads. Denise returned to Harlem, her health declining from the stress, while Tanya stayed in Atlanta, balancing school and searches. Andre kept Marcus's drumsticks on his dresser, a promise to never stop looking, and LaToya wore Marcus's A&T pin on her jacket, whispering his name before every performance. But as the years turned into decades, hope faded, until a moment in 2015 brought it all rushing back. What did Andre hear that made him drop everything? This is where things get explosive. Subscribe now, because what happens next will leave you stunned. Fast forward to 2015, and Andre Carter has built a life out of the ashes of 1995. Now 40, he's the band director at Atlanta A&T, a respected leader who's kept the Drumline's legacy alive while mentoring a new generation of drummers. He's married to LaToya Evans, who became a music teacher after graduating, and they have 2 kids, a 10-year-old daughter who plays the flute and an 8-year-old son who's already eyeing the snares. But Marcus's disappearance still haunts. Andre, he keeps a photo of them from the 1995 classic on his office wall. Marcus's grin, a constant reminder of the brother he lost. On October 12, 2015, Andre is driving home from practice, listening to a true crime podcast called Cold Beats, hosted by a journalist named Lena Harper, a 35-year-old with a knack for digging up cold cases. Lena introduces her guest, Terrence. T-Bone Wright, now 41, a former Morris Brown drummer turned music producer. T-Bone's voice is shaky as he confesses something chilling. On the night of the 1995 classic, he saw Marcus Jackson being dragged into a van by 2 men outside the Georgia Dome. He claims he didn't tell anyone back then because he was scared. Rumors swirled that Morris Brown's band director, Mr. Calvin Hayes, had ties to a local gang, and T-Bone feared retaliation. Andre nearly crashes his car, his hands trembling as he pulls over to listen. T-Bone says he's coming clean now because he can't live with the guilt anymore. But he doesn't know what happened to Marcus after that night. Andre calls Tanya Jackson immediately, and she's just as shaken. Tanya, now 42, has spent 20 years as a nurse and advocate for missing persons, running a support group in Atlanta. They reach out to Detective Brooks, now 65, and retired but still sharp, who agrees to help unofficially. The podcast episode goes viral, trending on Twitter with hashtags like Justice for Marcus and Drumline Mystery. Public reaction is intense. Former A&T students share memories of Marcus online, and Morris Brown alumni demand answers. A new tip comes in from a former Georgia Dome staffer, a 55-year-old named Carla Evans, who says she saw a suspicious van idling near the parking lot that night, with a man inside who had a snake tattoo on his neck. Andre and Tanya meet with Lena Harper at her studio, a small space cluttered with microphones and case files. Lena, intrigued by the story's traction, offers to help, digging into Morris Brown's history for clues. Could T-Bone's confession be the breakthrough they've waited 20 years for, or is there more he's not telling? T-Bone's confession on Cold Beats reignites the case, and Andre, Tanya, and Detective Brooks dive in with renewed urgency, determined to uncover the truth. Brooks, though retired, calls in favors with the Atlanta PD to reopen the case, pulling old files from 1995 that were gathering dust in a basement. The former Georgia Dome staffer, Carla Evans, meets with them at a local library, her hands fidgeting, as she recalls the van with a man who had a snake tattoo, a detail that sends a chill down Brooks's spine. The former Morris Brown cheerleader, Keisha Daniels, now 39 and a school teacher, shares her memory of seeing Mr. Hayes arguing with 2 men in a beat-up van near the Dome around midnight on November 18, 1995. She didn't think much of it then, but T-Bone's podcast made her realize it might be connected. Brooks digs into Mr. Hayes' past, uncovering a 1990 scandal at Morris Brown. Hayes had been accused of fixing a band competition in 1992, allegedly paying off judges to secure a win, though the charges were dropped. Rumors of gambling debts and ties to the East Side Vipers, a gang known for extortion and underground betting on HBCU band events, swirl around Hayes, who passed away in 2010. Andre and Tanya track down T-Bone in a small recording studio in Macon, Georgia. T-Bone, now gaunt with a nervous tic, admits he lied about some details. He didn't just see Marcus being taken. He heard Hayes tell the men, "Make sure he doesn't come back." T-Bone claims Hayes was furious that Marcus's performance had cost Morris Brown the classic title, and he wanted to send a message to A&T. But T-Bone's sister, Regina Wright, a 38-year-old hairdresser, reveals another layer. She meets with Andre and Tanya at a Macon salon, her hands busy braiding a client's hair as she speaks. Regina says T-Bone was terrified of the Vipers, who'd threatened his family after he witnessed a drug deal at a Morris Brown event in 1994. She believes T-Bone stayed silent out of fear, not just guilt. Lena Harper, the podcast host, uncovers financial records showing Hayes received a $10,000 payment from an unknown source days after the 1995 classic, hinting at a deeper conspiracy. The new evidence points to a chilling possibility. Marcus's disappearance wasn't just a rivalry gone wrong. It was a planned act tied to the dark underbelly of HBCU band competitions. But who were the men in the van, and what did they do with Marcus? If you're still watching, you need to subscribe. The investigation takes a grim turn as Andre, Tanya, and Detective Brooks chase the connection between the East Side Vipers and Marcus's fate, determined to bring closure after 20 years. Brooks's old contacts lead them to a former Viper, Jamal "Snake" Carter, now 50 and serving time in a Georgia prison for racketeering. Jamal, with a snake tattoo curling up his neck, initially refuses to talk, his cold eyes narrowing as Brooks and Tanya sit across from him in a stark prison interview room. Tanya, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, pleads with him, holding up a photo of Marcus in his Drumline uniform. "He was my baby brother," she says. "You owe us the truth." After a tense standoff, Jamal agrees to talk in exchange for a letter to his parole board. He reveals a devastating truth. On the night of the 1995 classic, Mr. Hayes hired the Vipers to deal with Marcus, paying them $2,000 to ensure he'd never drum again. Jamal says he and another Viper, Rico, who died in 2008, grabbed Marcus outside the dome, planning to rough him up and scare him off. But Marcus fought back, swinging his drumsticks like a weapon, landing a hit on Rico's jaw. In a rage, Rico struck Marcus with a tire iron, hitting him too hard. Marcus fell, blood pooling on the pavement, his body still. Panicked, they drove him to a wooded area near Lake Lanier, 50 miles north of Atlanta, and buried him in a shallow grave. Jamal draws a map to the spot, his voice flat as he says, "We didn't mean for him to die, it just happened." Brooks organizes a search with the Atlanta PD, but the first attempt fails. A storm washes out the area, delaying the dig. November 10th, 2015, after a second search, they find skeletal remains at the site, along with a rusted A&T drumline pin matching Marcus's uniform. DNA confirms it's Marcus Jackson. The news devastates Andre and Tanya. Relief at knowing the truth mixes with the gut-wrenching reality of his loss. Tanya, who's spent years with missing persons groups, organizes a vigil at Lake Lanier, where hundreds gather to honor Marcus, lighting candles as the drumline plays a soft cadence. LaToya, now Andre's wife, breaks down as she touches the pin, remembering Marcus's laugh. The drumline rivalry that cost Marcus his life comes into sharp focus. How could a competition meant to celebrate music turn so deadly? What does this mean for the A&T community, and how will they move forward? Marcus Jackson's remains are laid to rest in Harlem on December 1st, 2015, in a ceremony that brings the drumline community together in a powerful tribute. Andre Carter leads the A&T drumline in a performance at the funeral, their cadence echoing Marcus's signature snare rhythm, a haunting farewell that moves the crowd to tears. Tanya, holding Marcus's drumsticks, speaks at the service, her voice strong as she vows to continue advocating for missing persons in his name. She shares how her work with groups like Find Our Own has helped other families, but Marcus's case will always be her driving force. LaToya Evans Carter, now 38, stands beside Andre, her clarinet resting on a stand as a nod to the music she and Marcus shared. The investigation's conclusion sees Jamal's testimony lead to the posthumous indictment of Mr. Hayes and Rico, exposing a dark chapter in HBCU band history. Morris Brown's current band director, a 45-year-old named Marcus Evans, no relation to LaToya, issues a public apology on behalf of the school, acknowledging the pain caused by the 1995 rivalry. He meets with Andre at A&T, the two directors shaking hands as a symbol of reconciliation, vowing to honor Marcus's memory together. Andre reflects on the 20 years of guilt and grief, realizing Marcus's spirit lived on in every beat the drumline played. He starts the Marcus Jackson Scholarship Fund, ensuring future drummers can chase their dreams without fear, raising over $50,000 in its first year with donations from alumni and HBCU supporters. The drumline community, once fractured by the tragedy, comes together to reform competition rules, prioritizing safety over rivalry, background checks for staff, better security at events, and mental health support for students. A&T and Morris Brown hold a joint performance at the 2016 Classic, dedicating their set to Marcus, a tradition that continues each year. Denise Jackson, Marcus's mother, now 62, watches the performance on a live stream from Harlem, her health frail but her heart full, knowing her son's legacy endures. The truth about Marcus's fate closes one chapter but opens another. How many other vanishings have been buried by pride and competition? This story hit hard, didn't it? Marcus's journey, from a Harlem kid with a dream to a drumline legend, whose life was cut short, shows the power of music, but also its dark side. What do you think? Could there be more cases like Marcus's out there, hidden in the shadows of rivalries? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if this mystery kept you on edge, and share to spread the word. Subscribe for more true crime deep dives, and check out our playlist for stories like Young Cheerleaders Vanished in 1995. 20 years later, a chilling discovery resurfaces to keep the suspense going. Let's keep Marcus's rhythm alive and shine a light on the missing